Alright, so here we have The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, sorry. And this is a game that was probably released for the N64, 3DS, the GameCube. I mean, you know, this game is literally one of the greatest games of all time if you've never played it. It is also probably regarded as the best Zelda game of all time by a lot of fans. But at the same time, there's some people that disagree, and they would say like some of the other later titles would go off to be like some of their best games of all time. Ocarina of Time is a game that I remember. I'll tell you from my side of the story. I remember when I first played it. I forget exactly how old I was. I know the game came out in 1998. It's shown right there. Copyright 1998 Nintendo. I remember a long time ago my uncle got it, and he was into Star Trek and all that, and or not just Star Trek, StarCraft 1. And he would play it so many times he would just play StarCraft, and eventually, you know, he had games like Jet Force Gemini, GoldenEye. He didn't have Perfect Dark, though, and he had, like, a Super Nintendo, and he had, like, all these cool games for it, and he just gave them to me. And I still have his... I mean, he's still alive. It's not like, you know, he's anywhere found, but, you know, his mother passed away when she did, and, you know, we would just play, like... I mean, he still lives in the house that he does, but, you know, but he's, you know, it's just crazy, though. Like, that house had so many memories of it, and we'd play Ocarina of Time, and eventually, I mean, he did beat the game eventually, and eventually I did, too. But, I mean, you know, this is, like, one of the, I mean, just like any other good game, or really excellent legendary game, you know, there's always something out there. There's always good details. There's always good memories you have, and you'll never forget those. And Ocarina of Time, I'll be honest with you, combined with the way my childhood was versus, you know, the way this game is, I mean, you got yourself quite an adventure. It really is. It's not something you're going to forget. Oh no, there's my save file. Anyways, but yeah, this game, probably one of the greater Zelda games. I mean, this game really goes into depth with a lot of things. I mean, there is a lot of good things about this game. It really feels right when I say that. So here we are. So again, I don't have to explain like the whole story. I'm sure everybody already knows how this works. But if you haven't played the game, though, if you kind of want an idea what it's about, think of The Legend of Zelda as like there's a land of Hyrule, and then there's a bunch of other countries outside. So it's kind of like Fire Emblem, sort of. Like, there's people from other countries. They try to overtake, like, certain regions, mostly, like, outsiders of Hyrule. So we have, like, Hyrule is, like, supposed to be, like, this really peaceful, like, legacy and all that. And as we later go on to find out, we find out that all the... you know, it's eventually overrun by this villain by the name of Ganon/Ganondorf. Now, Ocarina of Time is like probably like the most confusing Zelda game to this day, even though there's plenty of ideas of like what's going on. I mean, this is where it kind of starts. Like this guy right here, this is Ganondorf. So the game starts off as a dream, sort of, or rather foreshadows like you're gonna find this guy eventually. And eventually, what's kind of weird is that as you play through this whole game, again, Koji Kondo actually did the music for this game. Shigeru Miyamoto is the one that wrote it, and there was a bunch of people that helped them produce this game. I think it was like 75 people that made this game, somewhere around there, maybe. It's very impressive for a Zelda game. And I think it's really funny, though, because, like, again, this game has a lot of secrets in it, too. If you actually look at the Great Deku Tree, he actually has a mustache, and he kind of has thick eyebrows, much like an Italian plumber that we know of. I wonder what his name was again. I can't remember. Mario was his name, right? The Super Deku Tree. Oh no! Now the game's glitching because I'm playing on an emulator. Outdated drivers. I should have got a... Yeah, if you're going to play on an N64 emulator, I recommend tossing Project 64 and going with Mugen 64 or whatever it's called. Yeah, there he is. He's humping the rock again. I remember that. Oh, God. No, he's trying to pick it up, but he can't. Oh, it's so stupid. It's like every time I see that, I'm like, why did they put that there? Japan's trying to be funny. And they are funny. I really do love their sense of humor. It's fun. Like, just the way they think of these things, it's hilarious. He's trying to pick that rock up and he can't. So essentially Navi's supposed to be a fairy, but seeing how she's got like such a little body to animate, you know, rather than animating her, they figure, oh hey, we'll just turn her into a big ball of light. She's a big ball of plasma flying around. No, don't stare at her, Link. No, anyways, but essentially, like, okay, so we find out that Link is been taken in by the Great Deku Tree. His mother left him. They never really tell you who she is. She was killed. So was Link's father, whoever that may be, at least reincarnated Link anyway. And then we find out that Link is taken in by what is known as the Kokiris. They never age. I don't know. I forget exactly if the Kokiris had to stay in the forest though, and they never age, or if they could actually, if they somehow were to travel outside of the Great Deku Tree's veil. That the Great Deku Tree's forest and all that, like all these characters. So like right now, this is Saria. I like doing that. So this is actually one of Link's friends, and you find out that she. I mean, like again, they never age. They're always children, and they never. And I don't think. I'm not sure if the game itself ever mentions that the Kokiris are aware of their powers. But either way, it's really cool how Shigeru Miyamoto came out with this game. So the game pretty much serves as like a tutorial, like, you know, like they have like someone in the distance. I mean, the game really kind of, like, everybody always likes to refer to Nintendo, like when they're not making fun of them for their Nintendo logic. People are always pointing out that Nintendo actually does do some really clever things, rather than just outright tell you what to do in a lot of aspects. Like, some of their older games, they literally would, like, they'll put it there, but you find it out on your own. Like, for example, like right here, you know, you'd see a woman looking up there, and then you would see, like, the target menu, and then you just push, like, the Z button, and the game would be like, oh, hey, that's how you can do that. So the game, like, it walks you through it, but it doesn't tell you, like, word for word until you've actually done it. And, you know, and that's actually a big difference when you think about it. Yeah, he's between a rock and a hard place. So essentially, at the beginning of the game, you have to find a sword and a shield, and the shield itself is only $40, but 40 rupees, which is pretty cheap in this game, because seeing how there's a lot of places to get money, especially later on in the game, I wish I could say the land of Hyrule is pretty rich. Even Link, he's just a boy from the forest, and look, he's already rich. He's already found $20 almost. It's like, what's going on here? This rock just goes back and forth. You see, Link keeps this up, he's going to be the wealthiest man in the world. Somebody clearly put this treasure chest here, and somebody told me not to find it. But I did. So anyways, the Kokiri sword is, well, let's be honest, pretty tight. This is the hidden treasure of the Kokiri, but you can borrow it for a while. And then when the game says borrow, the game refers that you never put it back. As a matter of fact, I don't even think Link puts the sword back before he even goes to Majora's Mask, which is the next game in the timeline. Which is funny, because now it's like Link's like, oh, you can borrow it for a while. So he goes on a quest, gets a better sword, goes to Majora's Mask, updates the sword, turns into the Razor Blade or whatever the heck it was called. And then eventually it's like, oh, hey, Link's going on a quest, huh? Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, you can do all sorts of things in this game. Like, you can do like side tricks and all. You can even do that. You could even find stuff. It's a Zelda game where you find stuff. Where did Link hide the loot? Jump and steal my loot. So what's also really interesting is there's like some areas that have like okay, so like for example, okay, I guess I got it already. Yeah, I got it already. But if you apparently like go inside here, the building, and then you run in, and then you run out, you essentially will get, like, there's some areas that the money will immediately respawn. So, like, right there, for example, all I have to do is just re-enter the building. If you push the B button, you can actually swim faster, which is actually really nice. Was it the B button? Yeah, it was the B button. Or was the A button for a second there. The game's confusing me. Ah! No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so the way the story works is that Link has to save the Great Deku Tree from the curse that Ganondorf put on him. And we find out it's too late, and the Great Deku Tree just wanted to test Link's courage. He tells Link about this this dream that, you know, the spirits, how the great goddesses, the three goddesses created the Triforce and eventually departed for the heavens. And then later on, you know, then we find out Ganondorf's still trying to get the damn Triforce, and then we find out that, okay, that's enough money, right? Yep. And then we find out that, you know, you have to get 3 emeralds in order to open up the, or you have to find 3 artifacts that, well, which are essentially stones in this case. The Kokiri Emerald, the Goron Ruby, and the Zora Sapphire. And eventually we find out that with those items, you can open up the Door of Time, which is one of the doors to the Sacred Realm. But then once Link gets the Master Sword, it's the final door, so that way anybody can go to the Sacred Realm. But then we eventually find out that the Sacred Realm just pretty much takes place 7 years in the Zelda future, but Link sleeps for 7 years, so then he has to go and wake the 7 sages to find Ganondorf again and kill him, because he's overtaken all the Hyrule. So Link has to go to the Forest Temple, the Fire Temple, the Water Temple, the Shadow Temple, and then finally the Spirit Temple. And then finally you can go to Hyrule Castle and take back what was theirs. And then they seal Ganondorf away, and then the game sort of ends on a cliffhanger. Link goes back in time to where he last left his journey, and we find out that, you know, him and Zelda meet again like they did at the beginning of the game, but this time Link knows everything. They stop Ganondorf, and then the game splits into technically 3 different timelines. There's the one where Link goes, you know, we went 7 years in the future, and then there's a different Link, and then that goes into Wind Waker. We find out that, well, technically people say that Link died, but I think it's more or less like Link, it's kind of like mistranslated. Instead of like Link is defeated, it's rather referred to as like Link just wasn't there, kind of like in the hero timeline. And so then we have like all these, so Ganondorf just easily wins because nobody was there to stop him. That's the way I look at it. And then we have, so anyways, when we go with that philosophy, we then find out that Link and Zelda, like, not just that, but we find out that, you know, if you go to the childhood timeline, the one Link, the Ocarina of Time Link, which after this game, it's really technically the true sequel of Wind Waker, or not Wind Waker, but Ocarina of Time, because that's technically the next game that Link takes place, even though there's other things that had happened after Ocarina of Time. So technically we have 3 timelines after The Legend of Zelda, like Ocarina of Time, but, you know, but it's just good to know that, you know, it's good to know that that's where those games go, though. So, I mean, at least makes, I mean, okay, you're still going to have questions, but at least most of them have been already answered by Nintendo themselves, so we at least know how this great series goes in what order, because that's something you would be surprised at. So yeah, so here we are in the Great Deku Tree. This is like to kind of give you an idea, like, how this dungeon thing works. And I mean, take a look at it. It's like the visuals, the music, and then there's Navi again. You're in my way. No, don't tell me what to do. I'm just kidding. We love you, Navi, even though Midna was better, and we'll probably never see her again. Anyways, so yeah, this is a pretty, like, the environments are pretty good. I mean, for a Zelda game, I mean, look at this. It's pretty cool, actually. So yeah, just to kind of give you just an idea how this game works. Save your game, you can continue. Hopefully you like this game, because believe me, if you have never played this game, play the Zelda series. It is one of Nintendo's greatest franchises, and I hope you enjoyed this video, because I sure